All right, Quentin. We all know why the people are here. We all know why everyone's watching. They want to know one thing. What compelled you to make this stupid ladies and gentlemen move? What is wrong with you?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. Well, it started as just an idea. Like a lot of my moves, like it was just a mechanic. Like I had the split made already just from fiddling with cards. Like I was doing like a piano cuts kind of fidget move thing, and then I came up with the idea of splitting them at the same time, like they flare at the same time. Um, and I just sat on it for a while and I knew that they wanted to drop. I knew that when I made the move, they would both drop at the same time. So I just spent a while, like when I decided I wanted to make the move, like figuring out how to catch it in the other hand. So I messed around for a long time, like with every different possible way you can possibly grip packets that and catch those at the same time. And then also connecting the hands too. And then eventually I found that grip and yeah. And then I was so excited that I figured out a way to do it that I just practiced very hard. I didn't really practice anything else. It was a very, very nice time.
So this is actually interesting that you say it like that because you've mentioned, at least to me, that you've worked this way kind of actually with a couple moves where you kind of come up with the main uh, idea and then work backwards and try and figure out how to like get into that. Is that kind of the main way that you work?
100%. Yeah, that's more often than not. Yeah, like the vast majority of my moves are like that. Maybe one or two of them started with an opener, but there's always, even if they do start with an opener, there's always an idea before I start of like what the move is. And then it's just reverse engineering. How do I make that possible with my hands? So, and even if I have an opener, like the only openers that I end up actually working on are ones where I just feel like, okay, I know what this wants to be. Whether it's like a flow thing, like I know that my hands want to turn, or I know that this packet wants to like fall onto that one or something. There's something that's just like, okay, there's a story here. I just need to piece together what needs to happen to make that a reality. And that's just the more enjoyable way of creating. Like, yeah, it's much
Right.
more relaxing that way.
And do you tend to find these moments more through like just working on little mechanics like you were mentioning, like you spend just lots of time with cards and just fiddling around? Or are there times when you don't even have cards with you and you're just thinking or something just comes to you?
Mm, mm, there have maybe been one or two times when I've just thought about something, but to be honest, it's usually just from the cards themselves. Like usually if I think of something, I'll think of it, go home and try it, and it's just not even close to being real.
It's never
Um,
possible.
yeah, it's never possible. Uh, so yeah, it's usually just with the cards in hand. And like I said, like I really only work on moves when I feel like I already know what it's gonna be. So there isn't much of like a, oh, I wonder if I could do that, or I wonder if I could do that. Like that whole creative approach is just not me at all. Like the whole like it's wide open, you're exploring, you're discovering. No, I just can't. I don't really work that way.
And staying on the topic of ladies and gentlemen, when you posted it to Instagram, I think like last year or maybe 2 years ago, you wrote a very nice caption, I remember. It is something basically saying about how you had to really work hard to make it possible, how it was pretty impossible when you first started, and that only through like very dedicated practice you can make it happen. And I'm really glad that you had wrote about that because that's something that I've found with like a lot of the best artists and a lot of the best moves that are being made. Like you kind of have to go through that process of just like being very obsessed and like waking up early and staying up late, like you had mentioned in that post. And um, I'm curious, like if you wanted to talk about like that type of mentality of like that like ultra grind type of
Mm.
mindset, is that something that you always have, or is it more specific to like, those types of ideas?
Uh, well, I mean, anytime I make a move, like, uh, I always, when I finish creating it, I always practice nothing but that move for as long as it takes until I can until I have it down and I can record a good take of it, and then I consider it to be good. Like and I think it's funny you say that, a lot of the best artists or a lot of the best moves, they'll tell you the story of, oh, I worked so hard on that. And I feel like that makes a lot of sense because the reason that the best moves require that work is because when you create them, they kind of tell you, they demand that work to be done. And so it's like the move is, you feel such a strong connection to it that you have to put in that work to make it real. It's not like you could work really hard on, I don't know, I can't think of a bad move off the top of my head, but you could work really hard on a move that's like cool, and that's great. That has a lot of merit. But I think in my experience, like I work as hard as I need to make the thing real. Sometimes that's 5 months of really intense work. Sometimes it's 1 month of like just, an hour a day or something. Like it's just however long each move takes. And the move demands sometimes more from you because the move is greater. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It demands that you work that hard.
Yeah. And you want to work that hard on it because it deserves it.
You owe
Like
it to yourself to really put in the work.
not even to yourself, you owe it to the actual move because the
True.
move
Yeah.
is like, it needs to be seen. And so it will require that of you. Like, okay, it's going to be pretty hard, but it turns out amazing.
So I have a funny kind of anecdote to share that this is secondhand. So I want to hear your perspective on this story. But I was talking to Jorge one time, and they're telling me that like you two were like on a train in Germany one time. Like you're setting up for like a long train ride. And Jorge gets like, like get the headphones out, cause get all set up. And you just sit down with like a deck and you go, ladies and gentlemen, 100 reps. Okay,
Mm,
one, two, three. And Jorge was like, this is when I realized like we're completely different breeds. Like Quentin's an
mm,
animal. When you're practicing, do you think in terms of reps often? Or is that
no,
kind of like when you're
no,
really ultra drilling, or was that like a joke?
that was totally a joke. When we were in Germany for Cardistry experience, like it was just a joke. Like, oh, 100 reps of your moves. We actually did them, but it was just a funny thing that only lasted for that week, and it doesn't end up actually helping you, in my opinion. Like, I didn't get any better at any moves when I did 100 reps of them or whatever. It was just funny because I just think like uh, sitting and doing it 100 times. It's really just about consistently doing it over like a long period, even if you're only doing it 50 times or whatever. Just doing it every day a little bit and like paying attention to what you're doing. That was the other thing that I noticed when we were doing that was like it was really funny, but it was just about just doing it, like as opposed to paying attention to, oh, maybe if I change my grip, it'll be easier, or if I adjust the opener, whatever. Like that's the best kind of practice.
Absolutely. And like I personally think that like recording yourself is probably like one of the best forms of practice. Like
Yeah.
recording yourself and like analyzing your recording of it.
And that's the most painful thing ever. It hurts so much.
Yeah, a couple months ago, I remember we were texting because I think we needed to post for our account or something. And I was like, "Oh, I have this one idea. Like I'll try and film it tonight." The idea was Euro step, but
Mm.
I filmed it. I filmed it with the old closer. And I remember I texted you. I was just like, yeah, like I need to rework this move because I went in and I was like actually analyzing the move and I was like, oh, like this sucks. Like this is trash.
Mm. Yeah.
I need to like rework it. That's
Yeah.
always the worst.
Yeah. But
Do you
it's
go through many versions of your moves, or is it usually once you're finished, you're like finished?
No, it's pretty much. I mean, I don't have that many moves, so we'll see if
Yeah.
that changes. But it's always been just the one version. Like I said, like the move really just I know what the move is exactly how it's gonna kind of feel beforehand, and so it's just about matching the reality of what I'm doing with my hands to that feeling. Um, but yeah, that process of like because I don't film myself when I practice, but I film myself. You know, if I'm working on one particular move, I'll like after a couple weeks of practicing, I'll film it just to see what it looks like, and it is just the most terrible, like excruciatingly painful experience to watch, and just it's so bad every time, and you just can't believe how bad it is. I don't know. I mean, yeah, but do you film yourself when you're practicing, or you film yourself just every now and then to see
It's
how
every
it's
now
going?
and then. I almost always have like my camera app kind of like propped up against something when I'm practicing or creating just to kind of check in. Um, but in terms of actually recording, I don't do that as much. Um, just because I feel like I would either do it to try and remember an idea that I don't think I will remember if I come up with something very quick. Yeah, I either do it for that or to analyze, and I hate to do that because it like it ruins your confidence trying to analyze
Yeah,
your own moves. So
yeah,
yeah, I don't do it too much.
yeah, same. But I always have like photo booth on my computer open when I practice,
Right, right.
and I just try to avoid recording as much as I possibly can until I
Yeah,
really need to improve on a move.
yeah. That I mean, I was talking to Greg about this recently about like it's very important to have like like a mirror or like a camera thing, I think, like almost at all times when you're like practicing or creating. I think it's super important just to have like multiple views of your move. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
if you feel
also
the same.
comparing that. Like I found it. I think that's very helpful to have a computer there or a reflection of some kind. And it's also helpful to compare what you're seeing on the screen to what you see when you look down at your hands.
Exactly.
Because there have been a lot of times where I do something with the computer's perspective in mind, and then I look at my hands and it doesn't make any sense. Especially considering that I usually have my computer uh, like at the same level as my hands, as opposed to looking down on them, like the same way that a spectator would.
Yeah.
So there's a big shift there where I noticed recently, like I had kind of adapted my hands to like angle forward a lot when I think I'm still working on this, but I think the best way to hold the deck usually is just parallel to the floor
Mm.
and build everything from there.
And you
But
have it
I
tilted forwards
that's
or
what I had
tilted towards you?
forwards towards like the camera because my camera is
Oh,
kind of like low. So my camera is kind of like capturing
got you.
like the bottom of my hand kind of. And so I would tilt forward a lot.
Uh,
So anytime I did a move, I would do it kind of at this angle. And then when I look down at my hands, it doesn't
right.
look natural. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's interesting. I have my camera almost always exactly like 90 degrees away, like more or less this angle, except for perhaps a bit lower. So I've also found that like my moves are catered specifically to that angle a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I will be like, "Hey Parker, dude, that was a great take, but I think at this moment you need to be like 90 degrees." It's like
Mm,
he gets so annoyed because that's like a lot harder to go down there and all that stuff. So I need to also like fix that and get like multiple angles, I think, when I'm practicing.
yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah. It's very rare that I ever like even when I record myself, which I rarely do. It's usually just at that same computer angle. It's very rare that I get a proper angle, like put my phone in a cup and it's angled down. That's so rare. And when I see that, I'm just like, oh my God, it's like hearing your voice on the phone. It's like, oh my God, that's what you guys see. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's
Like I'm
terrible.
never watching this interview again. Like I can't listen to my voice. Like, oh my God.
Exactly. Yeah. Just release it and never again.
So earlier you had mentioned that you don't have very many moves, which for a lot of people, they might be a bit surprised by that just because of how many moves of yours are very like iconic and memorable. I went back and I actually counted how many moves were in each of your main videos. And I was actually shocked because they all feel like they have so many moves when they actually don't have that many. So your first video and I do want to talk about all these projects that you've done and stuff like that, but just for the people at home, that one part, which was like your first video with Komorebi, 2021 had 6 moves in it. The end with Fontaine from 2023 had 6 moves in it. And The Truth from 2024 had 4 moves. So
Yeah, and a
that's
lot of those were
12.
not new.
That's right. And you have a couple other kind of like Lucy type things I think floating around there. But in terms of the big videos that you've done, that's like 16 moves in total. So it is actually, I think that's a very, it's a testament to how, to your skill and your creativity that so many of those are just like very iconic moves that like everyone knows.
Well, that's very nice. But a lot of those are not like when I think of my original cuts, I don't even think about ones that I've put in a video. Like I just think about ones that what are the moves of mine that I'm thinking about on a regular basis or working on a regular basis. Like I still work on my old stuff, just brushing up on it, making sure I can still do it. Like what are the moves that I'm still sort of like that are still kind of circulating around? Because a lot of, especially in the first Komorebi video, like most of those moves were just like whatever ideas, throw it out, give it out and never touch it again. So, but in the Fontaine one, all of those are like my moves. Like those were much more. Yeah, your camera is going crazy.
My
Do you
camera's
know?
going great.
That's
So
like
so you don't really think in terms of projects in general. You're
no,
not
I
like,
do.
okay,
I definitely think in terms of projects, like that's both of those. Like it's funny that we're talking about reverse engineering because it it actually it's even bigger than just the moves themselves. It's like those the reason like those two videos, I knew I was going to make them before I made the moves, and then I made the moves after
okay,
the video. I knew the video was going to happen. So it's kind of it's kind of meta where it's like
yeah,
it's all just reverse engineering because that's like the idea that there will be a video at the end of this is what motivated me to make the moves or what inspired me to make the moves. So
right. So when you did, let's just say the Komorebi video as an example, you were like, when you started making the moves, you didn't know it was going to be Komorebi necessarily. Or maybe
no,
you
I did.
did, but
I did.
okay, you knew it was gonna be Kohlrabi. And you were like, okay, I want to make a video. Let me go and make the moves, essentially.
Basically, well, the real story is that I mean, I've known Linus forever. Obviously, we're both New Yorkers, and we had been hanging out since like 2017. And he was like, I looked up to him a lot because he was like the first cardist I ever met. He was like the cool cardist. He had like fontaines and stuff. And so I had shown him like I never really created much before that video at all. I never actually finished a move, but I just had a bunch of ideas that I was just like, oh, I'm not a cardist. I'll never actually, I'm not like Linus. I'm not cool. Like I just have ideas, and I would show them to him, and he liked them a lot. And but I never made them into moves. And then he asked me during the pandemic, like, or he strongly, he was like, dude, let's make a video. We should make a video. You should really do it. And I said, okay. And I didn't have any moves at the time, but I was so excited by the fact that I can make a video that I went back to those ideas I'd been sitting on for years and finished them and made them into actual cuts. So
Right.
yeah,
And so that came out April 2021.
yep,
Uh, Now I remember the first time I ever met any artist was actually when I filmed my first video for Komorebi in
right,
December 2020, which was
right.
like 7-ish years into actually doing it, by the way. So never
That's
give
so
up on your
crazy.
dreams, kid. And anyways, Jorge was there. And you were also jamming with Jorge, right? In New York.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't
And
there, but I hung out with Jorge in New York. Yeah, just
yes.
so people know.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah. And so Jorge was telling me, like, yo, there's this kid in New York. He's like 18 and he's cracked. Or I don't know how old you were at that time in
Like
2020 or
15,
2021. You were 15?
maybe 16. Yeah, 16.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There's like, okay, there's a 16-year-old who made a move where there's an angel and he inserts it in the packet and then the packet's like I remember just being getting that move described to me And I was
Mm.
like, okay, they're like, this is cap. Like, there's just no shot. Like that there's this 15-year-old like this cracked, and then obviously the video came out, and I was I was proven wrong. Uh, was was that angel idea one of the ideas that you had been sitting on, or tell me about that move? I love it. I love that
That
move.
was probably maybe the first or second like actual move I ever made because I had the mechanic where I whip the packet around that carries the angel. I had that, and at the time I was like trying to be Danish, so I wanted it to be like a combo move because I just
Mm,
thought like, oh, that's what it should be. Um, but then like when Linus said, oh, I want to make a video, the fact that like, oh, people are gonna see this, like I'm not even that. I shouldn't say that. The fact that the reality that like I'm I should take this seriously as opposed to just, oh, I'm gonna mess around and make a combo move because why not? Like the fact that like, oh, okay, I have potential to make and release cardistry, people are gonna see it. That was the idea of like, okay, maybe I can do something cooler with this. And not even trying to make anything like I didn't say like, oh, I'm gonna make a banger now, and then I just made a banger because I'm so cool. It was just like I had that idea and thought, well, what else can I do with it? Like, how can it be more than a combo, or or not even like I didn't even know it was going to be more than like I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew that if I just kept playing with it, I would find something as opposed to what I'd been doing before that, which was just like messing with ideas and then letting them go, you know?
right, right.
So
And so that video, that one part, I think that was a crazy debut video. You also had it's called like electric fingerboarding or something. What's the name of that move?
electric guitar.
Electric guitar. Yes, that
Yeah,
move's
yeah.
also that one's a banger. So you don't actually really you don't like make your move names very public. Is that intentional?
uh yeah, a little bit. I don't really care about naming moves. I feel like
Yeah.
I actually kind of enjoy when people are like, "Oh, can you do that one with the this thing or the one with the
Yeah.
this?" Or I like watching people try to describe moves. So I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the ones that you do have are like super iconic, I feel like obviously ladies and gentlemen is like, girls and boys, which is kind of funny.
Yeah,
What's the one?
yeah. Doesn't matter what they're called.
Yeah.
I don't
So
care.
actually I was just thinking about the one the other day because you posted that to Instagram, I think, right?
Yep.
Like pretty early, like 2021,
Yep.
maybe
Right at like
2022.
I think it was like June of 2021.
So I remember this like so well because I like because you posted it with like no caption, and
Yeah.
you did it you did it and everybody was freaking out. There's just no caption, no name, no explanation, and everybody in the comments was just freaking out, I think myself included. um but when I was thinking back to that post and then kind of thinking about how you perform it now, that move has changed so much in terms of
Yeah.
how you perform it and the handling of it. uh was your vision for the move always how you perform it now, or has it kind of like changed like over time?
Probably closer to how I do it now. I still don't think I have it 100% how I dream it would look, but I don't think it's possible. But um, yeah, I definitely wanted it to look how it is now, where it's I can do it like that performance that I first posted. Like I had to take it down because it's so slow. It's so slow. It's crazy. And at the time, I was like, "Oh, this is a great take," because I was, like 16 or whatever. So I kind of didn't really have that eye for like what a great performance really is, but it was clean enough to get the idea across. But I definitely to like my vision for the move, like like I was saying before about how I wanted to be Danish. Like my vision, especially back then when I was making those moves, was I was trying to make moves like the Danes and like Noel and James and Carter, my inspirations, and then it just kind of turned out this way. So I still saw those moves through the lens of like, okay, well, how's the performance? And so I really hated a lot of my moves. I still don't like my performance a lot of the time because it's not it's not smooth, flowy, and clean. But that's just my creative process just makes these like really difficult or like very body intensive moves. So it just kind of, turns out that way. But I think the one and electric guitar are like the closest I have to like a comfy, flowy move because they're pretty comfy to do now.
Right. Right. And I was looking for that video, that Instagram clip, and I was kind of mad you took it down. Uh,
It's so bad. So bad.
but there is something about like when there's a hard move like that, there is something to be said about doing it slow. Like sometimes that really makes everything kind of pop.
Yeah, I agree. I think for the first performance, like first debut of that move, it was fine. But for if
Good
it were to
enough.
stay, yeah, good enough. If it were to stay like that, that would be a problem. I think it's good that I sped it up and got it cleaner.
Definitely. I do really enjoy how you're doing it now. It's super. I literally I'm trying to learn and practice this move, and it's so you're crazy. You're crazy. Anyways, so your second project was with Fontaine, right? The 5000s, aka the end. Um, what? So you started working on it obviously before you knew what the project like would end up being. What do you remember
Right.
about when you set out to do it? What do you remember about that time?
I remember a lot about that time. That was probably one of the best times of my life. Just because I knew that there was a video coming. Like I was gonna make another video, and it was gonna be with one of like the brands, the big brands. Um, and so I basically just got super, super motivated, super inspired, and like for like that started. That was like right after I posted the one for the first time. So like summer of 2021. Um, and I just remember spending so much time just coming up with ideas, messing with ideas, openers, like just really messing, like trying to trying to just gather as many things, whatever they were, grips, mechanics, as I could that I could eventually turn into moves. Um, and so yeah, I spent like that summer, like those 2 or 3 months, just gathering stuff, and then like in September, I just started making the actual moves, and they just started coming out. And I it took each move took probably like 2 or 3 months on average, and then I finished all those moves like exactly 1 year later. So by June of 2022, they were all done.
Ooh, that's a pretty quick timeline, I would say. It's pretty
Well,
quick.
it's funny you say that because it did not feel quick. If I felt at the time like I was like,
Okay, I guess okay, there was
this is taking
six
so
moves,
long.
so yeah,
Well, five, because one of the moves in that video
five.
is
Okay.
already released.
Oh yeah, the one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I all the other five moves were like, uh, yeah, they were super intensive, and that time period was great too because um, I just I felt so connected to the moves. Like I loved what I was making so much. So there was just so much like like because I was in school at the time, and so anytime like as soon as I got off of school, like I was just itching to get home, sit on my bed, and just practice that and like just
Right,
shuffle like crazy and just the I was just so I was so in it. It was so much fun, and it was stressful, but it was like I was fully one pointed on cardistry. I was just like, that's it.
right. You were truly locked in.
If you want to use that term, yeah.
to
It wasn't even locked in. It was
to use
just
that term.
it wasn't even locked in. It was just I was just fully in love with what I was doing, and I was like,
Right,
and the fact that a video was going to come at the end of it was such a big part of that love and a
right,
motivator because it was like anytime that I mean, of course, I enjoyed the moves themselves, but it was such to help. It really helped keep me going. The fact that the knowledge that there was going to be a video at the end, and just the thought of like, okay, if I just get these moves, like the video is going to be so sick. Like the moves are going to be so sick. So it was just very, just super organic and like I didn't have to try to create or anything. It just kind of, it was so nice, man. It was great.
so you mentioned that you kind of knew it was going to be with one of the big brands. Did you have like multiple people kind of reaching out to you at that time?
Yeah.
Next, you did the truth, which was independent. You did this by yourself. Um, what was what made you decide to do it independent? And when you were making the moves, did that kind of did it like change your thought process at all, or was it always going to be independent? Like what? Like tell me the story. Give me
Mm,
the tea.
honestly, that video was just like I just wanted to make something for the con, and I wanted to make something while I was traveling because I did a lot of traveling last year before the convention. So it honestly wasn't even like there's only one new move in that video. It was really just me wanting to put myself on the screen in some way. And the when I was in Copenhagen last summer, like Tobias and Oliver were being very encouraging about like you should, because I was telling them my knee jerk reaction to everything is just don't release, don't put yourself out there, shut up, be quiet, don't make things like no one cares. But so that was I didn't want to release anything at the con, but they were just kind of like, you know, you should show something even if um even if it's not something that you've been working on for years or whatever, it's not a big project. Like they just said like it would make sense for you to be present on the screen in addition to being present at the actual convention. So it was a good motivator. And I'd wanted to, I thought about making a video, but like I said, it was very, you know, I had that voice in my head telling me like, don't do it. No one cares. No one wants to see you. No one wants to see you do cardistry, man. So
So it turned out, I think it turned out great, by the way. I was rewatching this before we were recording. Turned out great. Is there anything you want to tease perhaps in terms of, you made your own design perhaps for, for a deck? Is there anything, or even you don't even have to tease anything because we don't know like necessarily what's going to happen, but what was the motivation for, using that specific deck?
the motivation was I wanted cards that I got sick of using branded decks. Like I got sick of using decks that didn't feel like me. So I just wanted to have something that I could use that felt like nothing else. It was totally me. It was different than anything I'd used before. It was fun to use. Um, and I just got the idea randomly when I was thinking about putting, I was actually listening to, Brat, the album by Charlie
Yeah,
XCX.
yes, yes.
I was listening to it and I was in an airport listening to it. And I just thought about like, oh, what if you could put an album cover on a deck? How would that would be cool. You could like collab with artists or whatever. And then I thought, well, you'd have to put it on the back to be a square. And then I just thought, well, oh, a solid square with different colors would be like really fun to use. And it is fun to use. It's very, it makes the cards feel different than like a traditional design, which is nice.
Yes, it is. I got to use I think it was the green colored ones, which are fire, by the way. Super fire. And you bring up a good point because that deck is actually very you, especially the more that we get to talk about like branding and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
aligns with your philosophies, I think, a lot on everything. So it is super cool.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
hopefully it comes out someday for the public.
We'll see.
Stay tuned. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
You well, Tobias stole your thing. He made the white square deck. And
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
so you mentioned you've done a lot of traveling, and by by my assessment, I would say you are one of the most, if not the most, well-traveled artists, at least as of late. You've gone to many different countries and continents, all that. Um, so what's your favorite country that you've been to?
That is tough.
Or city?
I mean, Japan comes to mind. Scandinavia, all three countries come to mind. Vietnam also comes to mind. Vietnam is really cool. All of Asia is just incredible. It's like
Yes,
it's
you went on
much,
like almost a tour of Asia last summer, right?
yeah, yeah. I would say every Asian country is just
Yeah,
awesome.
it's hard
Everyone
hard to
I've been to
pick.
anyway. I haven't been to all of them, but they're dude, it's so nice.
I remember I asked you, um, we were talking about Tokyo because we lore dump here is that we first met in Tokyo, some
Yeah,
in the most random
so
way
random,
possible. Literally, literally the biggest coincidence of all time. We landed there on the same day,
so crazy.
around the same time. And anyways, you had mentioned that you really loved Tokyo and you kind of put it up there with New York City. Uh, is that still kind of your kind of like top two places?
Yeah, honestly, and in terms of places that I would want to live in, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so something that me and Parker, or Parker likes to talk about it, and I've definitely done a lot of thinking on it since he's talked about it. He likes the idea of regional cardistry, right? He likes the idea that in different countries and cities and areas that there's going to be different styles of moves and styles of cardistry and just in general. Is this something that you found to be true through your travels?
Mm, a little bit. It's hard to tell if it's real or if it's a placebo, if there's actually a difference. But
Or if there is a difference, is it just because they're friends and that they're jamming, or is it
right,
because of where they are?
right, yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely yeah. Whoever you hang out with is going to influence how you shuffle a lot. Um, yeah, it's hard to say. I think there is a difference, and there are probably many different factors as to why people from different countries have different styles. Um, but yeah, it's really cool to see different styles of shuffling in different places. But I think probably, like you said, most of it comes from them hanging out with each other and being inspired by each other. Because there's like we all have artists we look up to, but I think kind of whether you know it or not, like your biggest inspirations are the ones you hang out with. In my experience, anyway.
Yes, definitely.
Like the people I hang out with in New York inspire me and influence me so much subconsciously, and it goes both ways.
Absolutely. And one thing
Yeah.
that we were talking about when we were walking through Tokyo is about how you kind of almost understand some artists more once you've visited where they're from or where they live. Is there anything you want to, is
100%.
there anything you want to talk about on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it just there have been so many times where I've been to a cardist's city, and I'm like, okay, like it. I see the connection of between their style and their city. Like the first one that comes to mind is Julian Stieber in Hamburg.
Ooh,
Like there was just something about seeing Germany and then seeing his style where it just like it blew my mind because it just made so much sense that that style of cardistry is from this place. And he's unique
right.
in his own right and has his own flow. And all the German cardists are actually really different. But like, I just think it's so cool that to see like a reflection of a certain culture through moves. And I wonder if
Definitely.
people have that. I wonder if people see like our moves and think like, oh wow, that's like an
I wonder, because I think all
American
the New
style.
York people are very different. If we're just talking like kind of like smaller, like city type things, I feel
Yeah.
like New York is pretty different. Like
Yeah. New York is very different.
Linus and Leo, like all are super different, I feel like.
Yeah. But I would say that we all take bits and pieces from each other.
For sure. For sure.
Like, yeah. But yeah, we're super different, which kind of in a way makes sense for New York because New York is like a big melting pot of all different, in America, different cultures, different kinds of people, different styles. And New York is like, there are artists, there are finance bros, there are everyone,
Yeah.
everyone's here. Like, so it
Literally
kind of makes,
everyone.
in a way, it makes sense that we're super different. But like, the guys from San Francisco, like, they feel so similar to me. Like, they're all different,
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
but
But
there's a
there's some
common thread
common
between
threads.
all of their stuff. It's really cool.
Definitely. Definitely. Have you been to like San Francisco Bay Area before?
Never.
I
I
want
would
to
love
go.
to.
I haven't.
Yeah,
It seems fun.
yeah, that'd be fun to go.
I really
Would love
enjoyed
to.
really enjoyed LA. So
Yeah,
maybe I'm a West Coast guy in disguise. Who knows?
I might be too. We'll see.
Yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned for the for
World tour.
yeah.
Stay
So this
tuned.
might be a random question that you might not know how to answer. And if you don't know how to answer, that's fine. But I'm really interested to hear your perspective. Um, who do you think in the cardistry community has the moves that look the most like yours? Taking personality out of out of the picture, taking, I don't know, style, whatever. Who just makes the moves that looks most like yours? Not that you're inspired by, but that just kind of,
Mm.
yeah.
That's hard. Uh, I don't know. I don't want to like the first person that comes to mind is James, but I feel very,
Mm.
very wrong even comparing myself to him because he is a god and I'm a person. But I would say, like of my like Mount Rushmore inspiration list, he's probably the one that I probably am closest to in terms of how the moves actually look. But I am nowhere near like he is. Yeah, next level.
I can buy that. I like that answer. I like that answer.
Yeah, but I think I'm a mix of a lot of different
Oh,
styles.
for sure. For sure. And then part of the reason why I want to ask was just because I think a lot of people think your style is very unique. So trying to compare yourself to other people, I think is very interesting to me.
Hmm. Who would you compare yourself to?
Okay, so part of the reason why I asked is because I was thinking about this. Now, I mind you, I've never spoken to this person in my entire life, but just looking at their moves, I feel like we have a lot of similar philosophies, and I think structurally we think similar. And I think it's Nathan Wu. Never talked to Nathan before. I think for some reason our moves, we just like he'll have like some stuff that I like that I'll have already made, and then I'll have some stuff that he's already
Hmm.
made. Like
Hmm.
this happened a couple times.
Yeah. Has it ever happened with anyone else where like you have the same ideas?
Um,
Because it's happened to me a couple times.
Not really. Not really. No, I don't think so. I think just Nathan.
Hmm.
Who did that to you?
Sprat.
Really?
Do you remember his? This is a super deep cut. His Fontaine Trials 2020 round two, I believe.
Of
He
course I
has a
remember that one.
he has a table move where he pharaohs the deck, turns half the deck so it's perpendicular to the other one,
Right.
and does
Yeah,
a
and then
ribbon spread and then lifts it.
yeah.
I had made that. I had made that like 2 years before, but that was when I uh, was not posting or not sharing,
Right.
only sharing moves with Linus. So it never. So he he did it, but that was the first time where I was like, oh, I
Like
need to start. I need I need
no.
to I need to start posting because this is unacceptable.
I've had it happen retroactively where I've made something and then a couple months later I find it happened years before, but
Oh yeah, okay.
never the opposite way.
Mm.
Well,
And
actually, Leo had a similar opener for Eurostep as me, and his came out
yeah,
first from the other mine. But
yeah, but I think they're
it's yeah, they're
pretty
they're
different.
different, but it's
Yeah,
a similar idea.
yeah, and I feel like I remember talking to Trevor about how we had some overlapping idea, but I can't remember what it actually was. He's another person who I actually he might be my answer for like whose cardistry I feel like looks the most like mine. He
It's not a
might be
bad
my
answer
my
either.
other choice. Yeah,
It's not a bad answer. You're in good company. If your moves look like Trevor and James, I mean,
for sure.
so how would you describe your style though?
I
Like
have no
if you
idea.
just it's just Quentin. That's how you describe it.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I anytime someone talks about like tells me about my style or tells me that I have a style, I just don't even know how to react because I just don't. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I just don't see anything there. It's totally. When I look at my own stuff, I just see. Maybe I'm just so when I'm watching my own cardistry, maybe I'm just so wrapped up in like nitpicking and make sure it's like a perfect performance that I'm
Right.
not paying attention to. No, I'm not receiving it the same way that other artists are receiving it because they're not trying to scrutinize.
Right. You're your own biggest critic.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I would describe my style. I mean, I guess drop moves is a big factor.
If that counts, if that counts.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I would describe it.
Right. And so have there been times when, you've sat down and you're just talking to yourself like, okay, I don't really have a style. Do you ever try and like steal someone else's style ever? Are you like, well, maybe I should make a move in the style of Carter? I mean, you've kind of established that's not how you make moves, but is that something you ever think about?
Yeah, well, there was a period where I was trying to do that, not trying to steal someone else's style or borrow someone else's style, but I was trying to like after the Fontaine video had come out, like I was trying to like think about what the next thing is going to be, and I just had this terrible idea that I was like, okay, I'm I'm gonna like define a style and then I'm gonna make it. And so I was trying to make like,
Mm.
which no, it's not
I mean, it's
it's not
interesting though.
no,
It's an
it's
interesting
not it's not
concept.
because my idea was like, okay, I'm gonna make Quentin moves, which what even
Okay.
is that? And then but they're gonna be like really weird, and the grips are gonna be like super weird. It's gonna be just weird, just super weird. That was my idea, and I made nothing for an entire year because I had that mentality of like, because when I just said before, like when I look at my own cardistry, I don't see any style or anything. That's I think that's actually a good thing because it's just me authentically creating what feels most authentic to me. But then when I tried to do this, I made nothing because I was trying to I was trying to be something that I wasn't. I was trying to like
Right.
imagine this better version of me, which is actually not better, and then become this thing so that I can show people that I have, the will to produce any move I can think of, and I can will a move into existence because I'm so good. Like I thought that would be cool, but it turned out to be not cool because I can't create that way. Like I can't. And if I
Right.
were to force myself to make moves in that style or any style, I think it would turn out terrible.
Right. Have you ever tried to just like steal someone's move, kind of? Like you see something and you're like, what if I just did that? You know what I mean?
Maybe there have been a couple times where I've seen like an opener
Yeah, like a
that someone
mechanic. No, the
has,
move.
but usually I'll just play with it and see, and if I were to take anything from it, it would be, um, an underlying mechanic or something. Like I think the only time I ever stole anything directly was I stole something from Parker. Do you know my move where it's like you go like this and there's a packet balanced on here? Yeah,
Yeah.
like that. This mechanic I stole from Parker. He had a move with that. Um, and I had already designed the entire rest of the move. I just needed something to do with these three fingers. And so I just stole that from him. Um, and I asked him for permission. But uh, yeah, I usually don't steal. And I usually, when I'm creating, I'm very aware of trying to make it not look like anyone else. Like
Right.
anytime I'm messing with something and I come across an idea that makes me think like, oh, it's like that Davide thing, or oh, it's like that Leo thing, I immediately am like, okay, go the other direction. Because I don't want to do that.
I'm almost the opposite. I almost want to lean in to that stuff, as people can probably tell by now.
Hmm,
I like to lean into that, which is it's very interesting. We're very different on that.
interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. Because I guess that makes sense now that you mention it, but it does feel like when you steal from someone or do something that feels like someone else could do it too, you definitely make it feel like you fit it into your own kind of style, or it
Yeah.
fits it feels like it you kind of take it farther, I feel like
Yeah.
what I the reason I don't like to make moves or make or follow the path of someone else's idea or style is because I just think, I don't want to be that cardist who, you know, is just trying to copy someone else or like their moves are just kind of a mix of like, oh, it's a Nikolai opener with a Carter main action and then like a Tobias closer or whatever it is. Like I remember when I was first into cardistry, I saw a lot of cardists like that, and I hated
Mm,
that, so I tried to avoid that.
that's real. I will say to all our kids out there, I will say it is a good idea, especially when you're first starting out, to try and show your influences. That's my personal opinion. I think that's a beautiful thing if you're showing if I can tell who you're influenced by, you're doing something good. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I'm not representing Quentin. In fact, Quentin has almost said that he doesn't like this. So, take it with a grain of salt.
But I feel like I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing because what I'm thinking of is like those people. Well, you weren't around in like 2018, were you, or
No, I was
2017?
not. No.
Okay, because I remember that was when I was first getting into cardistry, and I remember uh just seeing so many just straight up Tobias and Nikolai ripoffs, and they were just so much worse. Like
Yeah.
I feel like what you might be talking about, and I would agree with you if this is what you're talking about, is like if you wear your influences on your sleeve and but make something very unique, or even kind of, you're even like take it a little bit farther than they would go, or like change, mix it in a weird way with something else. That's really cool. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. But I think if you're if you're basing if you're just trying to feel like you are a different cardist than who you are,
Mm,
that's what I don't like. Where your whole goal of shuffling is like, I want to be like this person.
right.
That's I think sticking with that in the long run, especially, is a bad thing. Like we all want to copy our idols, of course. Um, but if it's, I feel like that just needs to be like a phase you go through, not like your entire.
Mm, mm.
And also, those people tend to not stay in cardistry for very long because I've had friends who did that and they just kind of, once their idol stops posting or
Yeah.
changes their style, it's like, okay, done with cardistry.
'Cause I'm out. I'm out. So you mentioned that you were trying to make very hard stuff, not hard, but like weird stuff on purpose, and you kind of abandoned that. But your stuff, you do still make very hard moves. And recently, you were trying to film this one move. I remember this is an anecdote for the people at home. This is an interview anecdote. You were trying to film a move, and you got so mad at filming it that you had texted me like, "I'm done making hard moves. Um, like fuck this." Any updates on that? Are we still anti hard move?
Mm, no, we're not. Um,
We're so back, guys. We're so back.
uh, to be honest, it's not one way or the other. It's just whatever comes up. Like I think
Yeah.
the reason why I had to abandon that whole thing of trying to be weird and, make my style different, like the whole reason why that didn't work was because I was trying to make a certain type of end result, a certain type of move, get to a certain thing. And I think whether you're trying to make easy moves or trying to make hard moves, for me, if I'm trying to make easy moves or trying to make hard moves, that is going to lead me to putting out zero, and I'm not going to get
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
So the only way I can create is just by really not trying to and just messing with cards and following
Right.
my feelings. And so sometimes it'll be an easy move, sometimes it'll be a hard move. But it's definitely nice when an easy move comes up because
Definitely.
it's easy.
Yeah. Would you call this most recent three packet thing you did? Would you call that easy?
Yeah, for sure. Very
Yeah.
easy.
Super fire. Super fire, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy with that one.
So fire. Okay. And then, okay. Do you have cards with you right now, by the way?
Mm, get them.
Okay. Well, it's not super important if you want to get them.
What is it?
Well, basically, I just want you to just to do a scissor cut for the folks at home. Your scissor cut looks crazy. I don't know why. I just think your handling of this of scissor cut is so good. You do it very
Thank you.
uniquely.
Thank you. I love the scissor cut.
Yeah, I could watch that for a long time, and maybe I will. Who knows? Someone put a timestamp in the comments, and I'll just rewatch it.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the scissor. I think more people should do it regularly. Because like all one-handed cuts kind of exist on this plane. So it's really
Right.
interesting to just yeah,
Right.
it's so sick.
Definitely agree.
Yeah.
So I think we've been recording for like an hour, right? Ish.
Yeah.
So basically, okay, so let's wrap this thing up. And one thing I think if we do more of these in the future, yeah,
That zoom was
let me
perfectly
move
timed.
this. Hey guys. Okay, so hopefully we do more of these in the future with different guests. But if we do, I would like to do this with everyone, which is what have you been consuming lately? Like what music have you been
Mm,
listening to? Have you been watching movies? Have you been watching TV? Have you been reading? Have you been gaming? What have you been like consuming?
that's a great outro question. I didn't know you were gonna ask that. What have I been consuming? I've been watching more movies recently. Um, I recently got on Letterboxd, so I've been
Oh,
watching
do
movies.
you want to plug your
Because
letterbox? Have people
no,
follow you or no?
no. Um, but yeah, I've been because I know there are a few artists on Letterboxd and I follow them, so it's been fun to like have a reason to watch movies.
Yeah,
And same with like music too. I've listened to a lot more music. It's nice. Been listening to music. I played with Cardi, the album. It's
oh
awesome.
yeah, of course. What do you think, by the way?
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah,
It's
I've been enjoying it too.
definitely. I don't know if it's his best, but I'm not one for calling things the best, but it's so good. Um, what about I watch The Sopranos a lot. I watch a lot of TV.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you seen The Sopranos?
I haven't seen The Sopranos yet. I don't have HBO.
Dude, I'll give you my account. You have to watch it. It's the best show ever
It's like
made.
that.
It's the best show
Woo.
ever made. So I watch a lot of episodes of that because I like to consume things that I consider to be the best.
Right.
Um, and there's also a lot of good interviews on YouTube with the creator of that show and a lot of the things, and he also writes, of course, a lot of the episodes. There are interviews with him and the other writers, and they talk about their creative process, and it's very similar to Cardistry. Like the way that
Really.
TV is written and movies are written is very similar to Cardistry, where they'll talk about also the um, writer director of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul talks about this too. Like just their anecdotes are so similar, like talking about how they'll just be stuck on something forever, or they'll have an idea, they need to figure out how to get into it and get out of it and make
Damn.
things make sense. And it's really cool to hear them. I like to listen to interviews from like screenwriters and stuff, which is really fun. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Super
basically
cool.
it. Yeah.
Shout out Sopranos. Wait, what movies? What was like the last couple of movies you watched? Even if they weren't good, even if you didn't like
Oh,
them.
dude, I watched Mickey 17.
Oh, I've heard about this. Yeah.
Dude, it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen, genuinely. And I love Parasite, and I thought Oak Joe was pretty good, but dude, it was like hard to watch. I watched Prisoners. You know that one
Mm-mm.
with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. It's really sick, really sick. Would definitely recommend it. Um, what have I been watching? Twin Peaks, not a movie, but
Yeah. Rest in peace.
yeah, yeah.
Shout out. Big shout outs. And then is there anything else just you want to tease? Anything you want to plug? Anything everyone should look out for? Or we just is it just cardistry core to the moon?
Cardistry Core.